What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is Monday, August 22nd. Man, it feels like this month has flown by. I mean, I can't believe this month is almost over, but I got another week. We had an exciting weekend of football. LA Galaxy played against the Seattle Sounders this Friday. It was a thriller 3-3 win in a game with the Galaxy winning 2-0 at halftime. Unfortunately, they gave up the lead, but they were able to come back, get the tie in the final minutes where Dejan Jovic scored the game time PK. We have Damian Calhoun here joining us. Damian, how you doing?
Doing all right. Get ready to talk some Galaxy.
Yeah, let's talk about this game because it was a game of a lot of opportunities that the Galaxy had and also the Sounders had. Unfortunately for the Galaxy, the Sounders weren't able to capitalize on their opportunities in the first half, but the Galaxy were. They got those two goals. Chicha scored a typical type of goal he scores. So they go up 2-0. Everything was looking well. What were your thoughts on the game?
Um, the first half. I mean, it's always good to go into halftime with a lead. But I guess after the game, Greg was saying how once they got into the locker room, he wasn't really too pleased with how they were playing. I guess I mean, of course, everybody expects a response from Seattle in the second half, and that's what they got. I mean, they came out and they hit them quick. They could have had one in the first half. Remember the Jordan Morris goal that was called off for offside when he sort of wedged in between two center backs and got the header in on him. So yeah, it's one of those games where you're up 2-0, you expect somehow to close it out, but Seattle, they always do what they always do. They fought back, took the lead, and the Galaxy were luckily able to get a point out of it.
Yeah, that's the thing that they got lucky with a couple of those goals not going their way, right? And I think for the Sounders not going their way, I feel like Galaxy could have had potentially three goals in the first half, but nevertheless, I think one thing we've known about the Sounders that they're gonna come back in that second half. Unfortunate for the Galaxy, that they've struggled. They've had an up and down. They've had an up and down year, and I feel like this game was sort of kind of like their season kind of has been. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Are they going to get the tie? They lost the lead, and just so many things that led up to this game. But for me, I really felt like Galaxy had a great opportunity to win this game, even though they did not play their best. I feel like they had a great opportunity to potentially close out the game, but it didn't work out that way. I just feel like defensively, we've known this team has struggled all year, and obviously, some of those goals in the defensive end, and playing out the back, those are things that we've been seeing all season long from the Galaxy. Ended up hurting them with some of those goals. What are your thoughts on that? On how they were able to defend in this game?
Yeah, there was one thing I asked Greg. It was sort of like a chess match. Um, I'm going through the quote here. Said Seattle came out in a 3-4-1-2. They came out in a 3-4-1-2 versus a Galaxy in a 4-2-3-1. So I mean the wingers they were trying. They were so many chess moves going on. Greg in the second half he brought on a defender. He went to a 3-5-2 to sort of get his wingers his fullbacks up into the attack. It was just it was a chess match back and forth. The breakdowns they had on at least two other goals, I think, could have been avoidable. The scramble where Rusnak hit the crossbar and the post in the same sequence. It leads to a Rui Diaz wide open header, I think. Things like that should be ironed out by this time of year. There's somebody keep an eye on the most deadliest guy on the pitch, and that's Rui Diaz in the middle of the middle of the 6-yard box right there. So yeah, a little thing sort of got them again, but like I said, they got a point, which should. I mean, if you look at the way the West is going, I mean, it's a tight race. So every point counts. Every point should matter.
Yeah, talking about that, there's a play playing the play of the Rusnak. He hits the crossbar twice. Unfortunately for him, he should have had a goal, or he
Yeah,
should have had a goal. One of those opportunities, and we see there,
I thought he was offside
the
right here.
cross
I
comes
mean,
in. I thought he was offside too. I thought he was offside. As soon as the goal went in, I looked at the score at the TV that we have in the press box to see the replay, but it looks like obviously he was onside. Goal counts, Rowry Diaz. Man, that guy has just a knack for scoring goals. He's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, not if you're the Galaxy or opposing team, but to me, he's a scorer. I love when scorers just do this. And if you're going to give the Sounders these opportunities, regardless of how they've been playing this season, this is a well-veteran team. If they're going to get this opportunities, Nicolas Dara knows what to do. Raul Ruiz, you get the ball right there. And I think he does what he does. He punishes the Galaxy. And then I think at that point, what the game was ended up being 2-2.
Yeah.
That's when I think, to me, and this is where to me the Galaxy is like, how do they respond, right?
Yeah.
What you bring on. And I think, to me, that the interesting thing after this happened, if I can recall correctly, I think that's when you're talking about Greg Vanney made the substitutions to change the formation. He took out Chicharito, which Chicharito was upset. I know a lot of people were saying he was either gassed or but to me, this is just me thinking I would have kept Chicharito at least for like another 5-10 minutes, at least play with Joveljic, because I just feel like Chicharito and Joveljic are a bigger threat. And to me, I didn't understand the substitution of bringing in Zavaleta for Grand Sur. Even if you're switching that formation, it just felt like to me like that Greg was playing, or it came across that he was going to play to protect the tie. And I think you needed more offensive, and I don't know who was still on the maybe Efrain Alvarez or whatever. To me, I think I would have liked to see more of an offensive player come in instead of taking a winger for a defender, because then right after that is when the Sounders ended up scoring that third goal. And that to me was just kind of odd on that substitution. I don't know if that was to you, but to me, I just kind of read that a little different.
Yeah, at first it was, but then what he said, I'm reading a quote here. When he brought on Zavaleta, the Galaxy went to more of a 3-4-3, not 3-5-2,
Okay.
which kind of cleared up our reference points in terms of how we wanted to defend and press them. The wingbacks could match up to their wingbacks, and their three center backs could deal with their two strikers. So yeah, he wanted his guys to get forward, but that three had to defend there. And then, as you know, on the third goal, the center back the guy, I forgot who scored the third goal. He went up and he went over Zavaleta and got the header.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, oh man, we're doing this, but they just scored like this. And no, so it was one of those tough moments there.
Yeah, look, like I said, yeah, and it was Jordan Morris. It was Jordan Morris, and
Yeah, Jordan.
that ended up scoring the third goal. I think, to me, I guess the biggest thing, I was really shocked at it, with Chicharito being subbed out, because we'll see right here. I didn't see this. I saw the frustration of Chicharito right there. If you see, I'm playing the video. Chicharito obviously was upset with the substitution. He didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Then Greg Vanney goes over there. This is the 71st minute. He gets subs out. He goes explaining to Chicharito, as you can see. But to me, that sub did not make sense, because you could have. It makes sense to bring Joveljic. I understand bringing Joveljic, but to me, it did not make sense to take out Chicharito. And look, Chicharito, a goal scorer, is never going to want to be coming out or anything like that. But I just feel like there's still 20-something minutes, 19 minutes left in the game. Give Chicharito another 5-10 minutes. Obviously, he wasn't getting the service or anything like that, but you could tell Chicharito still had a lot left in the tank. And good for the Galaxy that they got the lead, but it just didn't make sense, which your leader doesn't agree with that decision, right? And I think, to me, that was just something to take, because I didn't see Greg Vanney over there trying to explain it. And I think usually when you guys when the coach and the leader are together, there doesn't need to be no explanation of why I'm taking you out of a game. It's a 2-2 game at that point too. So I think for me that's another thing that was a little odd and kind of questionable, because Chicharito is just a bigger threat. I get it if it was like the 85th or the 90th, or he was completely out, but I don't know. What did you see? Did you see that Chicharito was completely out of gas in this at this point in the game?
Not sure. I'm not sure if I really was really focusing on his moves at that point. But 73rd minute, he had put in a tough shift. I mean, he always does. I think that's more of him not wanting to come out. I mean, no striker wants to come out, especially when he's already had a goal and he's on a tear now. What does he have? What, 4 in the last 3 games, or 5 in the last 3 or something like that? Yeah, he didn't want to come out. That's for sure. You bring on Joveljic, fresh legs. Maybe that went into his thinking there. I mean, you look at. I mean, you don't want to say it. Maybe Greg looked ahead to next week where they're traveling and they're playing 2 games in 4 days, whatever. Maybe that looked into it. But yeah, that's a tough call to take him out. I mean, no striker wants to leave the game, and
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, that's just a tough call. But no, he made it.
Yeah, no, and look. To be a coach, you have to make some of these tough decisions. You have to be, you have to be willing to do some of these. Those to me, that was a little bit more the questionable one, because I just felt that he had more. I just think he had
Mhm.
another 5-10 minutes, and I think you're more a threat with Chicharito in there. And I didn't really pay attention. I didn't watch. It's different from watching it from the press box opposed to watching TV. I did see some people online saying that he was gassed and all this. I didn't see it from up there. Maybe I wasn't paying as much as attention to Chicharito individually. So to me, I just felt like he had a lot more to offer in that certain scenario. Obviously, Jovic comes in, he gets the game time PK, which is big. Because when they first went to the VAR or whatever, I thought it was a different play because it was after. I think it was like after the ball was like, I think I'm gonna say like the half, like a
Yeah,
half field or something like that. And then I look at the replay, the TV, and then it's like, sure enough, Galaxy or Sounders defender touch it with his hand. Obviously, Jovic ends up making the PK. What have been your thoughts about Jovic individually? Because it seems like he's always having an impact in whether the Galaxy win or lose. He's always on the stat sheet or somewhere.
yeah. I mean, everybody. I mean, the team, the fans want him to start, but coming off the bench, he's that different energy piece they needed at some games. You saw it again this game. He came on, made some runs. The PK, of course, he's the only guy on the field who's going to take that PK. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's going to set him up well for next year. But yeah, I like him coming off the bench. I mean, a lot of people don't like that, but I like him coming off the bench because it's a different sort of gives the team a different look and a different feel for that last 25, 30 minutes. And now you have Ricky, and then you have Victor's in a good spot now, and you're bringing Douglas Costa off the bench now, so you can sort of reshape things late in the game, which Greg tried to do against Seattle, which can give teams more problems for the last 25, 30 minutes, bringing on 3, 4 fresh legs against a defense that's probably heavy legged by the 80th and 85th minute.
Yeah. Um, I agree with your points on the coming off the bench. I think I'm more on the other side on Jovic starting. The reason why is he's just a scorer, and I think just go. I like that he comes off the bench and he's able to do those things. My mind just goes like, imagine just 90 minutes of that. Obviously it probably won't be the same or anything like that. But I think when you're having a player like Cabral who's not been good, as good as expected. Let's put it that way. As a DP, I think he missed or he had an opportunity. I think right before the 2-2 or whenever it was either the Sounders goal. I think Jonah Rajo put a perfectly placed ball right in front of the six, and I think
Yeah,
all I could think of it was like if that was Chicharito or Jovic, that's probably in the back of the net. And
yeah.
you hate to think that way, but
It
with
was one of those balls where you have to go out of your way to miss it.
oh
And
my
like, how
god.
does it not go in? I mean, it doesn't go off a defender's leg, and you're right there. It doesn't go off your leg. Well, yeah, that was frustrating there.
Oh my god! And that to me it was like I think everybody like I just this whole stadium was just like oh like in sync because it was like and I was like wait what happened? Who missed it? Like what's going on here? And
Yeah.
I think to me that's where I'm just like man if this was someone else let me see if I can bring this up here because it was I think it was a crucial point in the game and you can kind of
It
change
happened
some.
twice. I don't know if he was on the end of the second one, but it happened twice in the second half, I think.
I mean, we got it here. So I think it's like perfectly the ball is placed out here. Araujo, bam. He doesn't fully commit to the run, and he
Yeah,
misses it right there. And I think that's just a tough thing. Like if you're a DP, look, there comes expectations as a DP, and
yeah.
obviously you're getting paid all this money. But I think the to be able to score from that close, and I know a lot of this is another thing. I know a lot of people will say, look, I'm not trying to compare Chicharito to Cabral. I think that would be unfair. But like when some people try to not give credit to what Chicharito does and scoring inside the box is not an easy thing to do. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
got to put a lot of effort. You got to run through got to run, make sure your runs, you want to run all the way through. Unfortunately, we're not seeing some of those same things. Same, what's the word? Uh, effort, I guess. The same effort that you would see from a Chicharito or maybe sometimes a Jovic. I don't really see Kevin Cabral's on the presence there because I feel like he's had a couple opportunities to score or whatever, and then just not there. And when you're a DP, you just have those higher expectations. And I think to me, Kevin Cabral has not lived up to those expectations. And I think I think it's been hard to continue. Look, if you're a supporter of him, I get it, I understand, but I think it's harder to continue to see this guy and not go through, especially when the team essentially kind of depends on him if he's going to be starting an assist or goals. Somehow you got to impact that stat sheet.
Yeah, and mostly all of his impact has been his runs off the ball that that you really don't see in a score sheet. The coaches see it in the whole stats of analytics, whatever, but the normal fan doesn't see because the fan wants goals and assists. He did assist. Did he assist on Javier's goal? Was that the other?
I
That was
think it
like,
was him. I think it was Cabral. It was
yeah,
Cabral. It
yeah. He
was
got the
Cabral.
assist. He got the assist there, but there's still moments where you're like, wow. I mean, you see him in training, and it's like, wow. I mean, he wows you sometime in training, but in the game, it's like, oh man, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a complete 180. I've heard a lot about that from a lot of folks. In training, he's amazing, but obviously, come game situations, a whole other thing. But let's talk about Ricky Puig. Obviously, he made his debut. Exciting time for the Galaxy. Exciting time for the MLS to be able to track the 22-year-old come here. He made his debut. What do you think? I know it was limited. Obviously, he didn't start. He
Yeah,
came off the bench in the second half. People were chanting for him to come off the bench. So fans are excited. What were your thoughts? I know he played by like what 20 something minutes, but what
yeah,
are your thoughts on Ricky Puig?
yeah. They want him to come off the bench, but man, I mean, Victor Vasquez has 2 goals in 2 nights. I mean, you can't sit Victor now, can you? But yeah, I mean, Ricky. I mean, yeah, he came in, but almost 30 minutes. The Galaxy say he completed 25 of 26 passes. So I mean, that's good. Sitting there in the middle. Just one of those things where you want to see more. I mean, going into New England this weekend and then on to Toronto, you want to see more how the players feed off of him, how he feeds the players, how they sort of run off him when he has the ball in the middle. One thing I was concerned about was that he's a little guy, and then I think at one point, who was it? Somebody in Seattle just ran right over him. I was like, holy smokes, dude, what's going on here, man? But he stayed down for a second, then he got up. Yeah, he's a little guy, but yeah, you and now for the Galaxy and the fans, you just want to see more. You just want to see how he impacts everything. He looks like he's going to be a good addition. Will it be enough to get him into the playoffs? I mean, that's the big question here.
Yeah, one thing. Look, and it's just short amount. I saw the quality. Look,
Yeah,
I think I saw quality from Ricky Puig. I didn't expect anything less. I saw excitement. He personally when he first came in, he was running onto the field. His energy was different. He's been wanting to play. He hasn't played in I don't know how many months, but you could tell he was excited. He was ready to play. His engine was different than I would say some of the Galaxy players because when he was there, he was just going, going,
yeah,
going. So you could see that, and I think if he's able to corral some of those guys and play at least effort wise, play up to that level. But I think tactically, I think he's probably going to be one of the best, if not the best, tactically player with wearing a Galaxy shirt outside of probably Victor Vasquez or maybe a few others. But when he was on the ball, you could just see how his touches were quicker. He was just getting
mhm,
into space. I just saw the quality of him. Now,
yeah.
I also you bring up a good point. Is he going to be able to do enough to keep him in the playoffs, get him into the playoffs? Because there's like 8-9 games left. So they go to New England this upcoming weekend. So it's not going to be it's not going to get any easier, right? Every game matters for the Galaxy. You can't lose any games. Some games like you got to get the 3 points. If you don't get the 3 points, you're still. I think what the Galaxy maybe right now in the seventh. I want to say this. They fell to
I
seventh.
think they're in seventh on 34 points. So they
Seventh
they
is
caught they caught a break over the weekend. I mean, a lot of teams had leads and lost them sort of like they did, but they came back and got a point. So they stayed above the line. They're in seventh place, 34 points. They have the tiebreak over Vancouver, which is wins. They have one more win, but yeah, it's a battle now. I mean, it's one game, 9 games left. It's like a playoff final, as they say every week, really.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing for the Galaxy. And I'm not. To me, I'm not worried about what pressure Ricky Puig may have because I mean I don't think it gets any more pressure than it does at Barcelona. But I think he does. I think he had said that last. He plays better under pressure. But I think at this point it's just going to be him getting to know his teammates where they want the ball, where they expect him to play, and all those sort of things. Hopefully, maybe this next game he could play more. I don't know, 45 minutes or 30 minutes. I don't know, what's the projected of him getting him to full 90 minutes, but you would assume it's not going to be this next game. I don't see Ricky Puig playing 90 minutes next game, so you're going to have to wait till his third game to potentially get him to
Yeah,
more than 45, close to 90 minutes, because I think that's the tricky thing. And with 8, 9 games left, that's you hope everything's going well for the Galaxy. So I think he'd be able to adjust to the league. I think like you said, he got knocked down. He's going to see how physically the MLS is. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like the signing, but I just wonder with you, is it enough to give him that push for the MLS playoffs?
yeah, that's always a question when you're bringing on, you're bringing in players so late into the year. But one thing I like when he came on, they sort of seemed to pick up the pace a little bit. There are games where they just play so slow.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's so easy to see. You saw it very easy when they were back in, what was that, Kansas City, I think, over the about a week ago. And with him on, that sort of picks things up. You got Bregman in the middle and Delgado, and they can get the ball going, moving pretty quickly there. But they need to speed tempo up. I mean, playing so slow doesn't help them at all, really.
No, no, it doesn't. Especially when you're trying to go for the win, you're trying to go for the tie. I mean, you're trying to go for the tie and then the win. I think, yeah, you definitely have to speed it up. Hopefully, that's one of those things that Ricky could help out, especially there in the defensive or in the midfield where he's going to be playing. Let's talk about you brought a good point earlier. Douglas Costa coming off the bench. What have been your thoughts since essentially he got called out, but like Hercules Gomez, it looks like he's been more consistent. Obviously, we still haven't seen the qualities that we would like out of a DP. But he was close to potentially scoring a game winner from
Yeah,
a
that
free
was
kick. We got
yeah.
people got a lot of people off their seats. It was really really close. But what have you seen from Douglas Costa?
Yeah, I thought from where I was sitting, I thought that ball was in. Um, I think he's had a better run of it since there was one game I think on the road. It might have been Kansas City where he wasn't really a factor. I'm not sure if it was Kansas City or Minnesota. That's when he moved. That's when Greg put him on the bench afterward, and he's been okay for 30 minutes. But you don't want your DP playing 30 minutes. But as of now, that's the way he's going. He's going with Cabral in the lineup, and Coastal on the bench. He said post game that it's a fluid situation. I mean, one night he might feel differently and swap him. So yeah, I mean, man, it's so late in the year. He only has what, 2 goals, I think, 2 goals and assists probably. Now you just want him to contribute anything he can to help the group going forward. And then reset next year. If he's here next year or what, you just want to get through this year, have him contribute something, and then, like I said, reset next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Douglas Costa. It's like that's the thing with just the MLS with these franchise players, these DP players. Like if you hit, you're going to be on a good point. But if you don't, you get some mediocre performances, or some players don't live up to what you expect them to do. You're
Yeah,
kind of in this limbo because right now the most consistent DP has been Chicharito out of Cabral or Costa. Um, and I think that's where it makes it a little bit, granted, not it's not all on those guys. Like I said earlier, is the defensive things and certain things like that also lead up to that. But I think it's so, at least for me, since covering the league for like the last 4 or 5 years, if you don't really consistently hit, on those DPs. Look, they don't have to be MLS All Stars, but they have to be healthy, consistent,
Yeah,
contribute in some type of way if they're getting paid that much money. And we know how crucial that roster spot is, right? Until we
yeah,
get to a point that we don't have DPs or TAMs or whatever, hopefully it opens up a little bit more as the league continues to grow. But right now, it's so crucial to hit on those guys because if you don't, then you're stuck in this limbo position of having this guy come off the bench, not necessarily because of a good reason. It's just he's coming off the bench. You have other options, and
yeah,
it gets tricky. I think that's where it gets tricky, and some of those DPs, it just comes with the pressure. Unfortunately, it is that you got to expect more out of these guys, and I don't think that's too harsh to say.
yeah. I mean,
Because
and then you look at where he's come from. I mean, he should be used to pressure, really. I mean, he's played in some of the biggest. He played all over the world, the biggest stadiums, but yeah, he just hasn't. We've seen it. I've seen it in spurts where he sort of flashes like, oh, that's why they got him. But
yeah,
when you have two of those players, Tim and Cabral, I mean, when they're doing
yeah.
the same thing, oh yeah, that's why they got him. But on the other hand, oh man, that's why he's on the bench. So it's like, you can't really have two players in that same situation. That's why they're fighting for the playoff lives now.
Yeah, yeah, we have a comment right here from me super. He says Costa and Cabral are just bad acquisitions. Um, yeah, it's not looking good. It's just not looking good, and I think we'll just have to see because I'm with you on Douglas. There's Costa. Sometimes you see the flashes, but it's like I want to see those flashes for a full 90 minutes, not like I don't want to see them for 5 or 3 minutes or a minute, and I think that's where the Galaxy have gotten in trouble with themselves and some of those decisions.
Yeah, and
Let's
then for Cabral, I mean, in his second year, he's on a 5-year contract, right?
yeah, yeah, second of five, so there's
Second of
3 more.
5. I mean, I think we can. It's safe to say his first year was better than this year. I think that's probably safe to say. And going into that third year, if he thought pressure was on him now, just wait until that third year when potentially jobs will be on the line next year. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how he develops going into next year.
Yeah, I think to me that's the thing that's going to make things interesting because if however the Galaxy finishes, they don't have a successful finish to the year. I don't even know what that would be. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the tricky thing. Because like I don't think fans are going to be happy with just making the playoffs. I know they're going to be upset if you don't make the playoffs. I think it's like I don't think they have to make the playoffs, right? Look, they're right there,
Yeah, it's
34
like
points, but I don't
you want them to make it, but you don't want to see them lose in the first round. So it's like,
exactly. It's like if they were right now to finish, they would face LAFC, which may not be a bad thing because we've seen the Galaxy.
well, they would have to win their first round, right?
Is that how it
Yeah,
works?
because the
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
first
You're
two
right.
seeds
Yeah.
get buys. If I'm not mistaken.
You're
No,
right. You're right. Yep.
I
You're
don't know. They
right.
changed it. And I know number one gets a bye. I think number
Yep.
two plays the second weekend. The first
Number two.
weekend,
So number two would be 7. So they would play Austin FC, right?
I think the 6-7 winner. I think, or is it? I don't know. I gotta look it up, man. The playoffs change every year.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
think,
you make a good point. They're not necessarily going to. They would not necessarily face LFC in the first round. It would have to be the second one because I think they do get a bye.
yeah,
Um.
that's the only thing I do know. The number one seed gets a bye that first weekend or whatever.
Yeah. So
That's
we
why I
have a
always,
Chris says the first seed gets a bye in the second round. We would not. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense. So they wouldn't necessarily face LFC in the first round. I was going to say that potentially could be a good thing because of the rivalry, and we know how the Galaxy have dominated that rivalry. But yeah, I don't. That's not going to happen. Obviously, I forgot. We forgot about that. Let's talk about because the Galaxy are being rumored to sign potentially Martin Caceres, who's Uruguayan national. He's a center back, and I believe he plays right back. Let's just call him defender because I don't know anything about him. What are your thoughts on the Galaxy adding another defender to the mix?
yeah. It's very interesting because a couple weeks ago I talked to Jovan Karowski and Greg Vandy, and they said they had one roster spot left, but both of them said they weren't sure they were gonna fill that roster spot because of money. So maybe they found some money somewhere that they can get they can get Caceres on some kind of very low end contract for this year and maybe prorate him for more next year. But yeah, it's so late in the year. Do you need another defender to come in? I mean, you have a ton of center backs um, that are there, but maybe it's the Gaston Brugman sort of recruiting him over here.
Yeah,
I
this
guess
is this
we'll
this
know
is
more in a
him. Yeah,
couple of
look,
days here.
I don't know anything about him. I just know he plays on the Uruguayan national team. You see photos there. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's like how much of a this is like with like the same thing I was saying with Ricky Pooch. Like how much of a difference will he be able to make in 9 games? Because you like the same thing. It's like he's gonna have to come in, visa, all these different things. Is he gonna
Yeah,
be
and
90-minute fit? I don't
there's
think
a rumor
so.
of they're bringing him in as replacement for Julian if Julian moves, but it's like if I was them, I wouldn't move Julian until the off season. I wouldn't move him when we're in the thick
At
of a
this point,
playoff chase. So I mean, there's so many things in the air. So I guess we'll get some clarity here in a couple of days of what really is going on because September 2nd is the roster freeze. You can bring in guys who are without contract, I believe, from out of the states. So I guess they could do it, but what point does it? What point is it? I don't know. We'll see here in a couple of days.
yeah, we'll have to see what happens. And like I said, yeah, they do need some help. I would say in the center back position. So we'll see what happens there.
They need to
Um,
trade some center backs.
Say that again.
They need to trade some center backs. They have so many. They have what, four on the roster. It's like,
Yeah,
man, there's so many.
some are helping, some are not, some are injured. It's not been good for the Galaxy center backs, the defensive end there. But yeah, I think that covers it. Look, big game this weekend against New England Revolution on Sunday. They travel away, so they definitely got to get the 3 points there. Anything else you like to add, Damien, before we let you go?
Yeah, they go to New England and then quick turnaround and go to Toronto. So I mean, big 6 points out there. How many will they bring home? We'll see. You probably need a win just to calm the nerves of the fans, I guess. But can you get that on the road? Against two teams who are below the line in the Eastern Conference, but I mean they're pretty strong teams over there. So especially
Yeah.
Toronto, all the changes they made. So it's going to be a tough road trip here.
Yeah, that's gonna make it interesting. Well, Damien, I appreciate my brother. Thank you for being on. Definitely check out his work. Damien does a great job covering the Galaxy for a long time now. He's always here, always a great friend of the show. So for Damien, this is Gio. That wraps up this segment of the LA Galaxy side. Give us a minute, guys, before we're back. And we're back. We're talking black and gold, LAFC, man. They had a tough weekend. They snapped their 7-game winning streak. They were on a roll. Honestly, I didn't really see them losing, but there was a lot of changes, a lot of different things. Brian said he wants out of LAFC. He's ready to join Club America. Sharonolo not happy. Ryan Hollinghead starts up top. A lot of things going on, but we have here Michele from Teuda join us. Michele, how you doing?
What's up, Gio? Thanks for having me. All good, and you?
Good, man. Good. I know last time we spoke, it was either LAFC or the All-Star game, but I was like, man, I got to get you on the podcast. You've been killing it with all the work, obviously covering the league, but also covering LAFC. You've been on top of this whole thing, this whole LAFC thing, Brian Rodriguez, all these different things. We're definitely going to get into that. But tell me a little bit about yourself and how long, just for the listeners to know, how long you've been covering the MLS.
Uh, well, I started with Univision and TUDN when it was just Univision in 2014. So it's been 8 years. And I started in Miami because we have our two main offices are in Miami and Mexico City. And then I went away for 4 years to Mexico City with them. And I was covering just Liga MX, working there. I was actually covering Pachuca for 2 years. For people that don't know Pachuca, it's a city that is just an hour drive away from Mexico City. So I used to go almost every day there, back and forth. That was the Pachuca that had Chucky Lozano, Rodolfo
That was the good
Pizarro.
days. That was a good
Yes,
days.
good days. They won the championship with Diego Alonso, beating Monterrey in Monterrey. Yeah, and then I came back to the US. Well, they moved me back. Well, not back. They moved me to Tijuana to start covering Xolos. That Xolos was Miguel Herrera. Their coach was Miguel Herrera, so it was a very, very interesting team to cover. Miguel Herrera, El Piojo. It's always a fun guy, and of course, all the media attention that he gets. And then I started covering Tijuana and LA, right? So then on 2019, they moved me to this side, to the US, back to the US. I live in San Diego, but I cover all LA. So, and everything just like mixing together with the LFC being born as a franchise, announcing Carlos Vela, Chicharito coming to the Galaxy. So yeah, that's basically it. So let's say since 2017. So it's been 5 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing. You've been doing a great job. We even have Anna, who's a big fan. He says, "Saludos, Michele from Tijuana. Welcome to
Hey,
LA
Anna.
Soccer Hub." But yeah, man, no, I've loved your work. I like everything you're doing. Obviously, getting all the information. Look, for anybody who doesn't know, it's not easy getting information. No. It's not easy. People don't want to give you information to other people. They think you're doing something wrong, blah, blah, blah. Trust me, I know how it is. So this man is putting in the work. And if you guys don't know, you got to appreciate this man putting in the work, what he's doing for the soccer community, because it's not easy, guys. It's not easy to get this information, to put it out there, and to put yourself out there, because sometimes you don't know, but it's just like, and sometimes like the teams get upset, but that's just what happens. That's what's part of this game. This is part of it, and it's like, I know. As far as long as I've known you from social media and obviously us meeting personally, I think I met you at the Galaxy game, was one of the first times. But it's like there's certain times when you could see someone that has a bad intention or anything like that. I never sensed that from you. I just seen like the amount of work you're putting in and the amount of work that you're putting into the community. And it's like, hey, this would be great to share with the community. I know sometimes people don't want to hear what's actually going on, or some like, for example, some fans may be fans of Brian Rodriguez and they don't want to hear that he's leaving. It just happens, and just part of the job. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to talk to about it. And I just want to give you my respect, because I see everything you're doing, and it's really, really good. And I think the community needs it.
I appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. It's like you say, it's not easy, and I don't love it. Like I don't like breaking news. But one thing that I'm gonna say that I appreciate both from LAFC and from Galaxy is that I think they're very fair in the way they have the media relationship. Like they're never gonna be rude about it. And for example, and it's, as long as you're fair with the information that you're putting out, that like you said, you're not being ill-intended or trying to steer the pot just to steer the pot. I think that the respect is mutual. So teams sense that you're just trying to do your job. And I think, as far as I know for now, at least with LAFC, that is the team that I've been covering more in depth this season, I've never had a problem with them. And they've always been straightforward. I've always, when I have a situation, I just pick up the phone and call whoever I have to call. And we know, and it's not an easy team to work. The front office, they keep everything very tight to them. But they're a team that if you go there they do media availability each week. And if you go there in person, you can ask. John Torrington is always there. Even Steve Sherondole is always there. You can ask them directly, and they're gonna give you an answer. They're not gonna hide, and that's something that I think is very important that a lot of MLS teams don't do. Like they hide and they're afraid of the media in some sense. But I gotta give credit to LAFC especially because they're very frontal and they're always available. So it makes our job easier. So I just want to put that out so people know how how the these interactions go.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear, and glad you've had a good experience, because I know everybody typically has a different experience and stuff. And I would agree with you.
Right.
The MLS is a little. I've come from covering the NBA and MLB, and there is like, hey, everything's
Yeah.
pretty transparent. You know, when I came to MLS,
Dude,
it was trickier. I was like, what?
Yeah. And it's not easy. When I reported 2 months ago that they were looking for a DP number 9 striker and they were gonna listen to offers for Chicho Arango, I mean, that stuff gets to the players.
Yeah, players see
and
that.
then you gotta go there in person, and you see Chicho, for example, and you talk to him, and it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, I'm just doing my work, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I know you're doing your work, we're just working, it's part of the business. So again, as long as you are respectful,
Mhm.
and as long as you try not to cross that line of trying to be your job, and with some people do, like they try to make themselves, us and the media, as the main story, then I think that the players and the managers and the coaches respect that, and it doesn't have to be a contagious sometimes my English fails, a difficult relationship.
Mhm. No, then that's good, and that's good. Yeah, I think anything I've seen you put out, I think if anybody would get upset at that, I think that's just, talking about like player or team. I just
Not
feel
yet,
like,
not yet. I've never had that, so
yeah, but
not
it's
yet.
just like breaking news and breaking information that, like you said, is part of the game. And I think to
Yeah.
me, of a player or a team like that would get upset. I think that would be silly, because it's like you said, it's part of the game, and I've never seen you cross that line or anything like that. And obviously, if you're a player, you don't want to hear your name around, especially when you're doing
Right.
good. Your team is you never. But look, it just comes with being a professional, being an athlete, and being at that level. But so especially I think players come from Mexico, South America, it's nothing compared to what it is out there. So
Yeah.
it's like I think some of the things that they have is like it's in the MLS. It's not the biggest league, right? With NBA, NFL, we have other leagues that it's like, bam, because if they're in their home country, this is like front page. You're seeing it everywhere, like bam, bam, bam. Here is not like that yet. Potentially might get there, but nevertheless, like I said, you've been doing a good job. Glad you've been having a great experience, because it's not an easy job. Let's talk about this game really quickly. LAFC snapped their 7-game winning streak. Let's talk about this lineup quickly. We don't have to get too in depth. I'm not surprised that Brian Rodriguez does not start. I'm not surprised that he did not play. When you say you want to leave a team, you're not going to play. I'm not surprised by that. But let's talk about Ryan Hollingshead starting as a forward when you have Bell and Vela on the bench, because that to me it didn't make sense, right? And I don't know what Sharondo said after his post-game press conference or anything like that. But what were your thoughts on Hollingshead starting up top?
I think it was predictable. Before the game, I said and I reported what happened with Brian Rodriguez, and then the team was very upset with him. So he was expected to be on the bench, and probably he wasn't gonna see minutes, and he didn't, even with the team losing. The last sub was Eddie Segura, and Sheronda already said that Carlos Vela was gonna get not a day off because he played, but he was gonna be part of the rotation, of the heavy rotation that they did, especially on the midfield. And Gareth Bale is just not ready, and he didn't play the last 2 games. He was questionable with load management. He's been trying to build up his form, and Cherondolo has been very clear he's still in preseason mode. So, given those factors, that we already know that Carlos wasn't going to play and Bale wasn't going to start either because he's not even ready to play 45 minutes yet, the only option was Brian Rodriguez. And then, with all this information, When we saw, well, Ryan Hollingshead, it was on the wing, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. It shocked a lot of people, but yeah, it was going to be Brian Rodriguez until Thursday that he made that unfortunate interview, unauthorized interview, um, that the team didn't know. And Sherondolo especially was very upset with him, and it was kind of a punishment. And so yeah, that's why we got Hollingshead starting on the wing. And yeah, and I asked Sherondolo about it, and he said that yeah, Hollingshead had played that position in the past, but basically he didn't have another option when you count that Bale couldn't start and Brian Rodriguez was grounded.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, to me, I did. I'm glad you cleared that up because I didn't know Bell was not ready 45 minutes. Because I know something he's dealt in the past is his back. I don't
Yeah.
know what LAFC have said, but I think to me, I guess to me and some of the fans that I think that I've spoken with, they're like, why isn't Chiellini ready? Because we just came for the MLS All Star break, right? They weren't
Yeah.
they didn't partake in the MLS All Star break, and then they haven't played these. Well, Chiellini hasn't played what was it the last two games? With
The last time he played was in Salt Lake when he did the handball
Yeah,
thing.
that handball.
That was two. Yeah, he missed the last two games, DC and now San Jose.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that the load management I think is what has some people confused because typically when we see players progress, they're playing 20 minutes. I think we saw RSL, um, Bale score that goal, that amazing goal. So you think right, it's progression. When is he going to get the start? And then it seems maybe it's a kind of like a step back for these two, if they're not able to play 45 minutes because I think we've seen Chiellini start. And I think whatever happened in
Yeah.
between the MLS All Star. And
Oh,
the
Chiellini's been dealing with a slight injury with a knock.
Okay.
But Bale, Sherondolo has been, and Bale hasn't played more than 30 minutes in any game. He's been coming off the earliest I think was on the 60th minute. That was in the Salt Lake City game that he scored, like you mentioned. And he's then after that game he picked up a knock and he couldn't train that week of the MLS All Star. So that's why he didn't play against DC United. And now, when he was starting to build up 30 minutes, then eventually play 45 minutes, and then eventually start one game. Now he had a setback. So now that's what we saw against San Jose. Like he just played, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like 15 to 20 minutes. So he's still working on that. Like Sherondolo said, he's still on preseason form. So I believe we're just gonna take the next month to keep building up, and then by the end of the season, we're gonna see him starting. So yeah, I don't see Bale starting yet, at least for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, after not being able, after only playing 15 minutes, I think there was some part of the regression. And I think that's where people did not know, and I think people were confused
Right.
of what load management. Like, you I've seen it in the NBA, but it's typically like you play one game, you're not playing back to back games, and I
Right.
don't think people knew that he picked up that knot. So the good thing for LAFC, they don't necessarily need him till come playoff time, but obviously
Yeah.
they're in the they're in a good place. They're first place. Obviously, you want to continue getting the wins, continue. But I think if you're a fan, you definitely want to see these guys start and
Yeah.
progress, get those 90 minutes whenever they can. But they got some time with these guys. They got the luxury with how well they've done in the season. Hopefully, come towards the end of the season, you can get a Bell at least 90 minutes and Chiellini. Because I don't really, to be honest, I don't really see Chiellini. I don't think anybody sees Chiellini being a 90-minute player. No disrespect. I'm assuming he could be a 90-minute player, but I think with all the options that they have, maybe 60, 70-minute player or coming off the bench or whatever. But yeah, there's just so many things going on there. And obviously you got players coming and going. And we got Mamadou Fall, who's being linked, I think it was at Villarreal to La Liga.
Yeah.
Because with Chiellini, Segura, and Amorillo, he's the odd man out. He is so talented. Let's talk about that because with some of those additions, some of the players that were getting minutes at the start of the year, unfortunately, are not getting minutes. Either got traded, moved on around. But let's talk about Mamadou Fall because I think that's a good opportunity for him, and that's a good opportunity for LAFC.
Yeah, and it's a loan for a year without a buying option. So he's just gonna go to Spain and play. He's not gonna be at the Villarreal first team. He's gonna start in Villarreal B, and so and he's gonna start for that team. And he needs minutes. and he already had a tryout with them. I think when he was like maybe 2 years ago. So he knows them, he knows the system, he knows the coaches there. So I think eventually what is important is that he's gonna play. He's gonna go there and play for Villarreal B, and then make his way up to a first team eventually. But the good thing is that all those minutes, they're gonna be beneficial for him and for LAFC, because when he comes back next summer, remember again, it's just a loan without no buying option. So he's gonna come back to LAFC, and he fell down to fifth in the depth chart behind Chiellini, Murillo, Segura, who's been fantastic since he came back. I don't think people forgot how elite and brilliant was Eddie Segura 2 years ago. I think he was the MLS Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
He was fantastic, and eventually, I believe that Segura and Murillo are going to end up in Europe, especially Segura. He's just talented. I think he's talent-wise the best center back that the LAFC has right now. So he fell down even after Iviaga. So it's just too many cooks in the kitchen, to put it that way. And Fall needs to still grow up as a player. We saw at the beginning of the season where he mixed a lot of good performances with bad performances, and that's given his mistakes were very led by his age. You know, sometimes his hot-headedness of being a youngster got the best out of him. So I think this is a fantastic move for him and a fantastic move for LAFC, because he's coming back and he's gonna be a key player next year.
I would agree. I would agree. Unfortunately, he's not being able to get these minutes, but he has a second opportunity to get those minutes and to play. And I think that's what you need as a young player, right? If you're not going to get the first team minutes, there's just too much depth. And unfortunately, you know, there is a good option for him. So hopefully it works out for him. I think that's just interesting. There's no option to buy, because it seems that LAFC still want him back. Because you don't know what's the future. You know, Eddie Segura can move on. Murillo, who's played amazing, he's playing better. You got Biaga there in the mix, and obviously the experience veteran Chiellini. So yeah, a lot of moving parts with this LAFC team. Let's talk now. Let's talk about Brian Rodriguez. Because there's a mix to Christian Teo, who's essentially on the verge of signing, because these two are intertwined. Brian Rodriguez wants out. He wants to go to Club America. There's been a rumored $6 million option to buy. Now Christian Teo, I think you reported he would be the DP. So I think there's some things to clear up here, because the only way
MLS rules, man.
Exactly. So before I get to I want to clear this. The only way Christian Teo could sign now, according to your reporting, is if Brian Rodriguez is sold. Yes. So I think that potentially could put some pressure on LAFC that they didn't have. Now Brian, he's vocally said he wants to go to Club America. Now people know that Christian Teo is coming to LAFC. The sale, unless you have information, the sale hasn't gone through or anything like that.
So
where are we with this?
What I've been told is that it's done. Brian Rodriguez to America is just final details of clauses. They were also negotiating like a sellout percentage of like LAFC keeping like 20%, and just little details about contracts. But I've been told that it's done. So Brian Rodriguez is expected in Mexico maybe by Wednesday, even as soon as Wednesday. So I think we're not gonna see him again with an LAFC jersey. So MLS rules, man. So let's try to simplify it as possible. So the only way that Christian Tello could be signed by LAFC, it's signed as a DP, because they're out of TAM money. They've used all their TAM money on Chiellini and Bale. So they have to finish the sale of Brian Rodriguez to America to get that DP spot to sign Teo, because that's the only way to squeeze him in the roster right now. But next year they need that DP for Gareth Bale, who has a DP option in his contract. So basically what's going to happen next year is that they're front-loading Christian Tejo's contract this season, money-wise and roster-wise as a DP. And next year, basically, they're just going to flip Bale and Tello. Tello is gonna become a TAM player, what like Bale is right now, and Bale is gonna take that DP. So it's gonna be Boanga, Bale, and Vela next year, and Tello is gonna be TAM player as well as Chiellini. So basically, they're gonna get rid of Brian Rodriguez, free up that DP spot. They're just gonna get it to squeeze him in the roster, and then next year Bale and Taylor are just gonna flip flop TAM for DP, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just the way the MLS has to work, because he's gonna have to get paid DP money for whoever these 9 last games in or whatever. I think that's an interesting thing, and I'm glad you cleared it up. Let's talk a little bit about more of Brian Rodriguez, because I think the way he's gone about it from ever since I've been covering the team, he's always been linked and rumored to other teams, and now this is the second time he's forced his way out. I think he knew what he had to do with LAFC, and I think he did. I don't know him or anything like that, but I've known what he's done in the past, so history repeats itself. He basically forced LAFC to get moved to Almeria, right? He was vocal, and he essentially did the same thing this time around. He went like to Uruguayan news outlets and said he wanted to go. Obviously, it's not the way LAFC wanted to go or anything. There's certain ways, but I think Brian Rodriguez that's his way of doing it, and he's done it now for a second time. But let's talk about that, how he went about this, and also his time with LAFC.
He's been a frustrating player. I don't think he ever lived to his hype and his full potential. We got to remember they paid almost $12 million for him, Peñarol. And he's a fantastic player. He's a really good 1v1. He's explosive. He's fast. But he has a final touch problem. And he hasn't scored a lot of goals. I think he has 8 goals in 4 or 5 years with LAFC now. So a player like him should have at least with his talent and the way that LAFC gets to the final third, at least 20 to 25 goals, right? So he's been very frustrating, and that's the Brian Rodriguez experience. So I actually think Christian Tello and Boanga, which is going to be, I think we're not talking enough about him. I think he's going to tear up the league. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the starting left wing, sometimes play as a 9. Where they start switching all the pieces that they have between Bale, Boanga, Arango, Vela, and now Tello. And I think the team has been trying to move him for a long time because he wanted to go. His agent has been pushing for him to go, but Cherondolo really likes him. And Cherondolo has been basically the main hurdle that America and other teams, and this is something that Cherondolo told me, this direct, straight up, and that's coming back to the beginning of the show when I say, like, sometimes you just gotta ask. Like a month ago, when all these rumors started, I was there in a media availability, and I just went to Cherondolo directly, not on the press conference, just like in a corner, and I just asked, Coach, what's the deal with Brian Rodriguez? Like, I wanna keep him. We're just gonna sell him unless a team comes with a substantial offer. And I really like him. I think he's a starter for me, and he's been the main hurdle. Brian Rodriguez has been pushing to go. Cherondolo has been pushing for him to stay. But at the end, I think you gotta, you cannot have this relationship fracture now the way I believe it has been fractured with what Brian Rodriguez did on Thursday with the interview, and Cherondolo and the front office just said, well, enough is enough. We gotta make this final push. MLS Cup is the ultimate goal, so we're just gonna move on and trying to improve the team. And I do believe that Christian Tello is an improvement, is an upgrade from Brian Rodriguez. They're very similar players, but it's older, he's slower, but I think he can score more goals than Brian Rodriguez has scored. But at the end, it's just basically a depth move, because again, the starter is going to be Boanga. So yeah, this is LAFC just doing what they do, just be doing a masterclass in this transfer market. In 2 months, they went from Musovski, Tajori Shradi, Brian Rodriguez, and Ginella to Bale, Buanga, Tello, and Sebastian Mendes.
It's crazy.
It's
That's crazy.
unbelievable.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's time to move on from Brian Rodriguez, and I think Cherondolo at the end he just gotta accept that. I think he has accepted, and yeah, that's how we got here.
Yeah, and I think the biggest hurdle with Brian was always they overpaid for him.
Right?
Unfortunately, they
Yes.
overpaid, and they're cutting their losses. Whether there's 6 or 7, I don't know. It's like they're potentially maybe gonna get half. I don't know what they're gonna get. We'll see what the final details come out. But I think that's been the hurdle for them. But yeah, I think the future outside of that, Christian Teo, Dennis Bonga, I think those are great replacements. And I'm with you. I think some of the highlights are highlights, but these guys have done it at a high level. And I think if those guys come in here and some of what Dennis or Teo, they could potentially score 8 goals this season. I know there's depending when they come in, right? But they're gonna get a shot right away if they're in form. If Bale's still gonna have to take more time. They're still in a good sweet spot. I think the only issue that I could see is just getting intertwined into the offense and all those things, getting to know those players. That just takes time, regardless of how good of a player. I think to me that just takes time. But they're gonna fit, essentially they're gonna fit right in, because I think a lot in this offense you can just put in place. And I think the only player that hasn't really fit in the offense to me was Ben Bryant because of his finishing.
Yeah.
His finishing. You could put Mahala there, you can put Bell, you can put Arango there. But to me, the only player up top that has not done what he's supposed to do is Brian Rodriguez because of his finishing and that high expectation. But to me, a player that's also been exciting. Let's talk about Mahala, because to me, he's been consistent for most part of the year. He's getting minutes here and there. I would have started him. I don't know why he didn't get the start on this past week. But I would have started him. But I think he's also one of those players that may not see his minutes, but he's scoring, which is the crazy thing. He's scoring. He's been impacting these games. So let's talk about him, because where does he fall in once Boanga, Teo, Bell comes in, because he may not see many minutes.
But it's at the end, it's most of what we're seeing, right? It's depth, and we don't know again how many minutes those Gareth Bale has in his legs. We don't know if Carlos Vela can be a consistent 90-minute player. We don't know how Buanga and Tello. I believe Buanga is going to be a fantastic player day one, but we don't know how that adaptation to the league is going to take, same as Christian Tello. So right now that you have in Mahala a guy that you can plug in and he's going to respond. So you have a certainty with him, a certainty with Arango, a certainty with Vela, right? So you have that front three that that you can count on any game, any day. And then you have Bale, Tello, and Buanga. So, I mean, the odds is that Bale and Buanga are going to be fantastic as soon as they get their legs ready. And Tello, it's just another piece, right? And that's something that Cherondolo has been said, and I don't see why not. He's going to change that mentality. He wants interchangeability. So we got to remember that right now, Arango it's the only sole natural number 9 that the team has. But he's been very open about it, that mentioning that Buanga can play as a 9, Bale can play as a 9, Vela can play as a false 9 also. So I don't believe that between the 6, there's going to be somebody that's going to necessarily lose minutes. I think we're going to see a lot of rotation, a lot of movement, and we got to remember the team already qualified for the playoffs. So there's no more pressure, right? What Cherondolo has in the next 8 games, that 8 games is a lot. I know some people say, well, it's not that much. I believe 8 games, it's a good amount of games to start implementing his ideas, start rotating people, start integrating Boanga, Tello, and finishing integrating Bell. And for that, you need minutes. And who's gonna give you those minutes? Arango and in this case Opoku. and you know that you can count on them. So that's very important for a coach to have that certainty. So I don't see any of them, especially Opoko, who's been great, losing minutes.
Oh, yeah, I think you bring up a great point. Chris, who's a big fan of the show, he says his thing is right here. A summary. He's like team chemistry. Those signings are great. Signings are great players. It's nice, but doesn't mean they'll play well as a team. He's like, that's my worry. Are
Yeah.
you at all concerned about the team chemistry? Because I think Chris brings up a great point. So many players in and out. Right? We expect Bell, world class player, to probably integrate Theo Buanga. Are you expecting of any of that chemistry? Because if say it's Boanga, Chicho, and Theo for whatever, they may not know where Chicho likes the ball. Vela knows
Right.
now. You know what I'm saying? I think are you concerned of any of that chemistry potentially?
No, for two things. I've talked with players about this. They work a lot on that in training. We got to remember that, yeah, game day is game day and it's important, but there's other 6 days that the team is in training and they work on those stuff. And two, and this is something that also players rave about. They love Steve Cherundolo. They've Kelly Acosta, Ilie Sanchez, all the guys that have been there from day one. Even Chiellini, that I had the opportunity to sit down with him a couple of weeks ago. They say that it's rare that to find a coach like Cherundolo, who's a locker room that he has created, where they absolutely love the guy. So I think the chemistry is already there, and that's why you have training. And it's important, if you believe in your coach and you believe in the system and you believe in what you're doing in training, and they are all bought in with Cherundolo, then I think those things come quickly and those things are not going to be a problem. And and I firmly believe that the system is so integrated already in the players and in the characteristics of the players they're looking for. Because when you see Cristian Tello is it's not just the looks, but he's like a Brian Rodriguez clone. The way he plays, the way he looks. So these profiles that they're bringing in Tello and Boanga, they're tailor made for the system. So it shouldn't take time for them to generate that chemistry. That again, they're working in training every day. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
You bring up a great point, and I would agree. There's a big difference. I even told this to Steve Cherundolo at the, I forget when I saw him, but I just literally told him, I was like, I love your approach because Bob was so my way or the highway. And I think a lot of the players, I think especially Vela, I think he's said it. He's like, it's said this about Cherundolo. I'm not quoting him word for word, but you can tell a difference. Even when you and I will talk to him, he's just very laid back. He's very a player's coach, and you see what the players talk about when you actually talk to Steve Cherundolo. You're like, oh, okay, because there's to me it was such a big difference because it was like Bob was like bam, bam, bam. Even the press conference, like, hey, Bob, I'm not playing on Saturday. Like, take it easy, like I'm this year that has a few questions, and he was just so intense. And I think you're right on that point because players do believe in Cherundolo. Players do believe in the system he's putting out there, and there's so many things. What you just said is you're right about that, and I think Cherundolo, to me, Cherundolo has done a great job because a lot of people could say like, oh, it's talent, but like you also got to make talent work. Even though if you have a lot of good talent, and if you don't make it work, then that's on you. You know,
I like to compare Cherundolo with what Zidane did at Real Madrid. Like we know that Zidane wasn't like the best tactical coach, and I'm not saying that Cherundolo is not great tactically, but I mean, you gotta also, when you have all the talent and all those egos, and just ask the front three. I mean, it's 6 guys fighting for 3 places, right? So there are 3 that are not going to start. You gotta manage that. You gotta keep everyone happy. And I spoke this with Ilie Sanchez. Ilie told me that Cherundolo is the best coach that he's ever had. There's this an anecdote. Ilie was about to sign with LA Galaxy actually in the off season. Yeah. And
hold on. Wait. Ilie Sanchez was about to sign with the LA Galaxy before he signed to LAFC?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. That's something that he said. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. This is
So
something that he
what
even said on
happened?
camera.
All right, sorry to interrupt. Continue to tell me. This is
So what happened is that LAFC went after him, and he told me after this. This is a real quote from Ilian. He has it said on camera. He said it on camera. He said after a 20-minute conversation on the phone with Cherondolo, I called Galaxy back and I said I'm signing with LAFC. So
dang.
it was so, and these are the type of coach that we're talking about. Like these guys are all in, bought in.
What did
with
Cherondolo
Cherondolo.
say? What did he say? That's a hell of a pitch to call a team.
I don't know, man, but that's Ilya Sanchez just said after a 20-minute conversation with Cherondolo, I decided to sign from LAC. I was about to sign with the Galaxy because he told me Galaxy was even looking for him like 3 years ago before he like resigned with Kansas City. And yeah, it's a crazy story. So
That is so crazy.
Yeah, and when you have players talking like Carlos Vela wanted out of LAFC at the beginning of the season.
That was clear. Yep.
And because he had it with Bradley. Like the atmosphere wasn't good. The locker room wasn't good. And Carlos Vela stayed, and this is a fact. Carlos Vela stayed and decided to renew with LAFC after what he's seen in the team this year. And he's mentioned it, like, and when Cherondolo just changed the whole thing. Like the atmosphere was broken in that team. Players had it with Bradley. Players wanted out, including Carlos. And what now Torrington has done, bringing all these players in. But the players are coming in after speaking with Cherondolo, and Cherondolo selling his ideas, selling his way of doing things. And yeah, man, this that's why I'm sorry. I know it's a super team, but Cherondolo is the coach of the year, and
I've been saying the same thing. To me, obviously, I think it gets overlooked because of a super team, but it's like that's what I've been saying. It's like I think people don't understand like egos, like that these players. I'm not saying these players have, but they could have, right? You got to learn how to manage that. You also got to learn how to sell players. I didn't know that story about Ilya Sanchez. You also got to know how to sell as a coach,
right?
Especially,
yep.
And also how to sell. He sold against the biggest rival, which is the LA Galaxy, that he was already looking to commit. That's also what you have to have as a coach. Know how to sell players, to buy into as a first year coach, to buy into your system. And you didn't have a good year with Las Vegas Lights, right? No one knew about you, but that to me just speaks so much more volumes about Steve Cherondolo, because just to have the confidence and everything like that, and know how to talk to these players, it just speaks more volumes. And I'm with you. I think Steve Cherondolo should be considered as coach of the year. It's easy to say with all the players that they have, but I don't think people realize how hard it is, and that expectation too of being there. And look, obviously, I think you would rather win all these trophies outside of being coach of the year. But I'm with you on that, and I think there's so many things that, man, we could talk for an hour after this, but I'm not going to take too much more of your time, Michele. But let's finish off with this, because that Ilya Sanchez story just got me going, man. I did not know that.
Yeah, man, I didn't. I remember when he told me off camera. I remember the moment. We're just joking around. Illy's a great guy, man. I love
dude,
him.
he's amazing. I gotta talk to him in at the All-Star. He's chill guy.
He's awesome. And I remember we were at the training facility, and it was post-training, and we were talking about and we're talking about the MLS in general right now, just chilling, talking about Galaxy, what we're gonna do, and then he just dropped that bomb. Like, he just said casually, like, yeah, I almost signed with them. I was like, what? and then we had I had an interview, a piece that we ran before the All-Star game. I put some clips online on my Twitter at the moment, and I told him, like, before the interview, like, I gotta ask you on camera about this at the Galaxy. Said, yeah, no problem, man.
Did you tweet this out? Because I must have missed it. I might have missed it.
Yeah, that was like before All-Star. I think it was between like Leagues Cup and the game in RSL. Yeah, I put like some clips on it. So yeah, because we were talking about how Cherondolo and how Torrington and how LFC have built this team. We've got to remember this team was already supporter shields leaders before they brought Bale and Chiellini. So we're talking just about that, and he was mentioning how they convinced him to sign with LAFC, having the Galaxy offer first, and how they've built this chemistry, this locker room, and how they turned this around after like Bob Bradley left, and the mood wasn't great.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how I missed that, but that is crazy, and I'm glad you shared that. Let's finish with this. LAFC's facing Austin FC, which is the number 2 team. Big matchup down in Austin.
Yeah,
it's a big game. I think they just made was it a DP signing? I don't know who they signed.
Yeah, Rigoni.
Yeah, Rigoni. I don't know if he's a DP. I don't keep up with Austin.
Yeah, he's a DP. Yeah.
Is he Argentinian? I don't know.
He's Argentinian. Yeah, he played with Driussi at Zenit in Russia. So he's good friends with Driussi. Actually, Driussi was the one that told the front office about him. He's a winger. So he's a great player. He was playing in Sao Paulo in Brazil. He wasn't seeing a lot of minutes. So I think he's going to be a game changer here on MLS. But it's funny because Austin is terrible at defensive transitions. So with Rigoni, that's not going to help, and that's not going to change. So Austin, it's those teams that they're very similar to what the first LAFC teams under Bob Bradley, that they were not balanced at all. Yeah. They will win games 4-3, 5-4, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a great move offensively for Austin, and so he's an upgrade for what they have. Ethan Finley, who's been good, but Rigoni is going to be an upgrade, and he's an upgrade. He's taking the spot of Cecilio Dominguez, who went to Mexico. I think he signed with Santos Laguna. So yeah, and now their 3 DPs are Driussi, Rigoni, and Alex Ring. So yeah, Austin is a great team, but again, very fragile defensively. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, look, this is gonna be a big game. Because it's a road game. This is probably the most hostile environment that LAFC will probably be. I know they just came off a loss. How do you see this matchup going? Because it's not gonna be an easy. Austin FC still feels like they have some hope to catch an LAFC, being down 9-6. I think 9 points. I don't know.
Austin hasn't been playing great, and they're a team that they're very heavy possession team. They like to play out of the back, and they suffer team that high press, like Minnesota last Saturday against the Red Bulls. Those teams that can high press, that Austin suffers those teams. I know LAFC is not a high press team, so probably Cherondolo can take advantage of that, because if you wait out on Austin on a low block, it's going to be tough because they have the players offensively to break through your lines. So I expect LAFC to try to be aggressive and try to pressure them high. The issue here is, again, going back to Ilya Sanchez. He's not going to be available.
That's the tough thing, because he got that red card. That's 2 yellows.
So now there's 2 ways to look at it, right? You can play Sebastian Mendes as the 6 because he gives you that physicality that maybe can help you try to press and try to dominate the midfield against Austin, or playing Kellen Acosta as the 6 and playing Latif Blessing as the 8, where you maybe lose physicality, but you gain in ball control or speed in the midfield. So yeah, I think if the LAFC can high press them and make them make mistakes, because they're very prone to mistakes defensively. Their fullbacks, they're always, especially Gallagher on the left side, he gets caught in transition a lot. Cascante has been great, one of the center backs, but Gabrielsen has been not. So you can take advantage of that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. Not having Ili is going to be a problem. So I can see a tie. I can see a tie, like a 2-2 high scoring game, maybe 3-3. So I expect a good game, goals, but very, very, very. We got to remember that Austin beat LAFC in
at the Bank of California. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's such a big game, because I'm not saying we don't know what could happen in the future down the line, but this game could potentially be some type of significance for either team because
Yeah.
say they go down to the wire, or sometimes or
Yeah.
Austin FC gets on a roll or something like that. This game could definitely, be down the road, or we could see these two teams in the Western Conference Final.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot. Michaela, I could talk to you for hours, brother, but I'm gonna let you go because you've been amazing. You've been great. Give us a
No
lot of
worries, man.
information.
It's my pleasure. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
we're definitely gonna have to have you back, guys. If you guys don't follow Michele, definitely follow on Twitter. That's where he does most of his work. Anything else you'd like to plug in for the listeners to check you out?
No, just the 2DN Univision MLS broadcast. I'm on all of them as field
He does
reporter.
Spanish as well.
Spanish, yeah. I'm on the Spanish broadcast, on the main broadcast. Don't watch it on Twitter in English. Watch the Spanish broadcast. That's always better. But yeah, next Saturday I'll be in Minnesota. We have Minnesota, Houston, and then on Sunday we have Atlanta, DC United. And yeah, I'll be there. I'll be on the sidelines for those games, and yeah, that's about it. And Twitter, that's when I have something to say or some news to share. I'll mostly do it on Twitter.
Yeah, guys, definitely check it out. Michele, my brother, appreciate you being on. So that's gonna wrap things up, guys. Everybody, I know we ran a little bit longer, but we had a great guest. So thank you guys for tuning on, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.